Gentlemen, good morning, and ladies, lady. Nice to see you all this morning. Welcome. Welcome to our December meeting. Almost January. So I just want to remind you, whoever the table captain is, please take charge of the envelope and reconcile it when you're all done and have it all ready for our treasurer when he comes around. Do we have any guests this morning? Yes, we have a guest. Unfortunately, I don't have a microphone, so if you would speak up, tell us who you are, what you do, where you live, whatever you want to tell us.
My name's Eric Eisenstein. I'm here with Ed Silver. Thank you for having me. I'm 63 years old. I live in Mount Laurel from Marty originally. Currently, well, on May 18th, I'll be at NBC in New York as a cameraman for 40 years. On May 22nd, I'm walking out the door and never going back. So I'm kind of looking to expand my horizons and looking ahead towards retirement a little bit. So thank you for having me.
Welcome. Anyone else? Any other guests? We have another guest.
Everybody, I'm Marty Cohen. I'm a guest of Marty Furlong.
We'll accept you anyway, don't worry.
We won't hold that against you.
Make you little.
And I'm very involved with the Federation, and most of the talkings go around in the building. Actually, this morning I'm going to be talking about Super Sunday, so look forward to that.
Well, welcome. Any more guests? How about new members? Are there any members who are here for like the first time since they joined? No? No new members? Okay. All right. Has anybody not received their name tags? I think we printed up 2 for this meeting. Savicki and Factoral. No? No one here? Oh, they got them? Okay. Good. Good. Let's get started with breakfast, but before you get up, the first boarding party who needs a little bit of help, would you please proceed to the breakfast tables? Let's give them a minute. If you need a little extra help, a little extra time. Oh, sorry. I forgot to write that down. Time. Hold on one second. How about our guest? Would you like to lead us in the hamotzi?
Yes. Just start with the road.
That's good. That's good. We're informal, but whatever you prefer.
We got some.
Go ahead.
Hamotzi Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam v'nein haaretz. Amen.
I wanted to acknowledge a couple notes that we got. As you all may remember, Larry Leziger passed away probably about a month ago. And as you know, we send cards from the club to family members and so forth. There's a note from Eileen and her family. Thank you and all the members of the SJMC and Investment Club for all the support you have given Larry over the years. On behalf of myself and my family, we thank you. And there's also a note from Stan Schumas, our treasurer, whose brother passed away not too long ago, a few weeks ago. Thanks to the Men's Club for the kind thoughts and expressions of sympathy on the passing of my brother Howard. Also, I wanted to mention Rich Dutkin, one of our longtime members, was in the hospital. He's at Lionsgate. I guess Mike or someone else, Nelson, I think you were there the other day. Rich is coming along, I think.
He's coming along better than I've seen in 3 weeks now. He actually recognizes people. He's still in pain, but not too bad.
Okay, yeah, he's had quite some medical problems the last few years, and we hope that he recovers, and maybe we'll see him at breakfast in a month or two. Is there anybody else that you know of that's a member of the club that we should... Judge Natel passed away 5 weeks ago, yes. He wasn't here for a while, and then I think 2 meetings ago he sat right there. I saw him and he looked good. And I think he was up in New York on business or something and passed away while he was up in New York City.
On a happier note, Harvey, congratulations, had a new grandchild yesterday. Scott's baby.
Oh, okay. For those of you who don't know, Scott is his son, and he's a member of the club. He's the chiropractor. Get the right specialty? Chiropractor? Chiropractor here at the JCC, and he's here usually at the meetings. He's not here today. Fantasy football. What can I say? I'm kind of disappointed, but I'm happy for this guy. He's our commissioner and grand champion. Believe me, it's not all skill, and we know that. But anyway, he's going to tell us how everybody else did. We know how he did. And he's going to present some checks.
The fix is in.
The fix is, yeah, I think there's something.
We've just completed our 6th season. We started out with 8 guys, and we now have about 30 involved. And I wanted to give the final report for the year regarding the outcome. The Big Chill finished in 14th place out of 14 teams. However, Dick, please come up if Mel's here also. He won $40. And Bob Levine and his son Chad and wife Lois finished in 13th place, won $20. Keep in mind, we're talking 14th and 13th place, and they won money.
He's a newcomer. He'll do better next time.
Barry Adler and his family, Ben and Glenn, 12th place, and $40.
The Briggs of the outfit's not here. That's his grandson, who's also
Barry Abrams and Dan,
basketball this year.
owners of B&D Marauders, come on up. $40.
Thank you.
Art Korth finished in 10th place. He's not here, right? I think. So he got $50. Our president and his son Alan, $50 for 9th place.
Well deserved.
Hal Feldbaum is not here, but he won $45. And then we have, surprisingly, I thought they were going to do a little better the way they started, but General Mayhem, Bob Greenberg and Rich Moskowitz, $65. In 6th place, Marty. Marty's mentioned. $60. In 5th place, a team called Losing Streakers, but they did a lot of winning with a 10-6 record. Mike and Ben Perloff. $70. The team that I thought was going to win it all, and I'm still not sure how they didn't, because they had the most points for the entire season and almost 200 more points than everybody else. But Lloyd and his son Mike and Dave, they won, $140. In 3rd place, our defending champ, Larry and his sons Fred and Mark, they won $208. And in 2nd place, the team known as Ronald McDonald, Ron Ettinger, came in 2nd place, and they are the recipient of $304.50. And to show you how skill is not a requirement. That when you're lucky, even somebody like me could look smart. My team with Dave Wynn and my son Todd took first place with a 12-4 record, and we received $467.50.
Breakfast is on you.
So that money is now in my grandchildren's college account. But maybe not even that. If you're interested, I'm already planning for next year. We could add teams. You're allowed to have up to 4 people per team. Okay, you guys should have more, but 4 officially. If you're interested, it's never too soon to let me know, because if we add more teams, there's a likelihood we might create a second league and then have a competition between the 2 leagues and what I'm calling our Super Bowl, the Kiddish Cup. So if you're interested, see me. And a reminder to the present owners, we have a meeting immediately after this meeting to talk about things for next year. Thanks.
You want to collect your money now since you're the head of it?
As I said, luck is a good weapon. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. I think you deserve it for all your hard work. He works during the season. We keep him busy, and then he does this beautiful Excel worksheet. I think he's an accountant, not a school principal or administrator. I think he's an accountant. He does this wonderful Excel spreadsheet, shows how all the money gets distributed.
He taught all the kids how to do it.
Did he? Anyway, talk about skill. I think there's about that much skill involved in picking these teams. But talk about luck. Todd sent out an email to all the teams the other day and recapped kind of what went on with the picking of his team. But if you know anything about the NFL, who was the top quarterback this year? Top, probably most valuable player? Lamar Jackson. How much did you pay for Lamar Jackson?
$1.
$1.
We didn't want him. We were just throwing his.
It was a throw-in.
We already had a quarterback, and we got stuck with him.
So if...
What skill?
What skill, right.
Just another example, in the draft, we pick 18 players. At the end of the season, we had 7 players left from our original 18.
So I'd like Harv Cohn to come up for a minute and talk about Super Sunday.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I was having breakfast with Mike Perloff this week, which is always an interesting experience. Actually, it's twice in 1 week now. Here's breakfast with Mike Perloff. All right, Harv, here's the bill. All right. Heads or tails? Well, he flips a coin, he says heads. All right, heads, you pay. Like, what if it was tails? You pay. You got it? So not all of you know me, but I know most of you because of the men's club. When you're hanging around Mike long enough, you end up working on a men's club project, even though it started off as a bike ride. Somehow we end up with Dr. Dave. Where's Dave? Dave Nydorf. We're bike riding in New Hope from Washington Crossing. It's like 7 miles up, 7 miles back. And Mike's ahead of everybody. And he finds this house, the first house in New Hope off the trail. The homeowner has those wire shelves that you buy at Home Depot attached to the wall. He has them stacked up. And I already know what's going to happen because Dave does not drive an SUV, and 2 bikes are on the back of his car back 7 miles back, and I got myself and my bike in my SUV, and Mike asked the homeowner if you wouldn't mind giving all those shelves to the food bank. He didn't mention which food bank, but the guy said, sure. I said, oh, that's great. I said, I got to ride my bike back, drive the car up, fill it up with the shelves, drop the shelves off on the weekend to the food bank. And it turns out the food bank can't use the shelves. So the shelves end up in, I get the car back to the food bank, the shelves end up in Mike's driveway. We lay them out, take pictures, take inventory, put them on Craigslist. All right, these free shelves, this lady drove from New Hope. And gave us $200, which went to the food bank for shelves they could use. So there you go. So, and this is the closest I had to a blue shirt, so. Good morning. So I have a piece of advice for everybody in this room. If you're ever invited to a Federation event, watch what you drink. The next morning you might wake up and realize you are the co-head of Super Sunday. So I left this on most tables. I might have missed one or two. Okay, I made this up last night. There's a website for Super Sunday. The address is there. Super Sunday, for those of you not familiar, it's a Sunday, and then the following 4 days of the week, it's January 26th. It's the week before Super Sunday, week before the Super Bowl. There's phone banks in this building, and people are calling all of the donors of the Federation, looking to replenish the budget for this year. 40% of the Federation's budget is obtained through the calls from Super Sunday. Very important effort. It's about $1 million. So, what we're looking for from the men's club, volunteers to make the calls on the phones, these dates. You can do it as a group if you like, and we can arrange a time where everybody can sit together and work together. All right, we can do that. Work with Ed to do that. Or you can do it individually and just contact the people on the form to volunteer for the calls. Also, the phone banks, there's a lot of phones. The phones are all sponsored, and there's some sponsorships available. To sponsor a phone is 10 high, $180. There's a form in here if you'd like to sponsor the phone. The phone then has your name emblazoned on it, your family, your business, your professional practice, whatever. You could have the men's club on there, whatever you'd like. So that form is in there as well. And my biggest request and plea is when the phone call comes, please answer the call and donate. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Super Sunday is
January 26th.
January 26th. So 4 weeks from today, I guess. Yes, Mr. Greenberg. I was going to call on you for something else, but you have something.
For those of you who don't know, we have been supporting Super Sunday both as volunteers and as contributors for at least the past 25 years. What we will do is our meeting will be on that Sunday. That morning, we will go downstairs to the kitchen and we will help prepare and lay out the food for the volunteers who work on Super Sunday. And we have been, like I said, we have been doing that. And Harvey, if you could have someone give us a call so that we can coordinate this, because stuff has got to get picked up and delivered to the JCC. All right. Okay? Thank you.
Bob, you want to come up and talk for?
Sure.
Nope, Ed?
Sure, why not?
I've been on that phone squad for over 30 years, and we do get volunteers, but we're short on volunteers for Super Week. So at night on Super Week, they need people to make phone calls where people are likely to answer the phone instead of the answering machine. So I'm hopeful not only that have people come in on that Sunday morning, but come in for one of those days during Super Week. We were very short of people in Super Week.
You can organize a time if you like.
I was going to say, if you want to volunteer, I know there's people here who volunteer every year. Ed volunteered for 30 years. And there's others who volunteer, whether men's club or just volunteer. If you would like to volunteer, why don't you stop and see Harv after the meeting? And then we'll also put an email out to the membership. Bob is going to talk to us about our philanthropic efforts. We had another philanthropic meeting recently, and
as a follow-up to what we did last month, the philanthropic committee met, and we have come up with some criteria for charities, very general criteria, namely that they're Jewish-oriented, that they're effective for their purpose, and that they have a reasonable overhead. And those charities will be evaluated by the philanthropic committee based on those criteria. But what we're going to ask you people to do this morning, on the table you will find a little slip like this. There should be enough for at least one person at each seat. If not, we have more. What we'd like you to do is give us 3 recommended charities, and if you know, please indicate whether they're local, national, or Israeli. And if you can give us any other information on it. Mike is telling jokes here. Anyway, if you could maybe give us a little bit more information so that when the committee goes through these, we can give proper consideration. I mean, we've already given out $1,000 this year. We'd like to be able to give more, but we need your help in allowing us to find appropriate charities. In addition, as we have always done in the past, the club has always matched charitable contributions. If we give as a group to a charity, depending on the amount, we may not match if you give. But when you have some event that comes up, for instance, there's a flood and we want to collect money for that, we will match, and the board will come up with obviously a limit. We can't match. You know, if somebody gives $10,000, we don't have that kind of money to match. But what we will do is we will come up with an appropriate amount to match whatever funds you see to give. Is there anybody with any questions? Yes, Don?
Not sure if it falls directly under you, Bob, but there was an email that was sent, I think Mike sent it regarding electric heater, and I don't know the status.
Took care of that. Two were donated. I don't know.
Okay.
I know one person who donated.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, Lee?
So under Guide Stars, we have a choice of 4,421 Jewish-oriented charities in the U.S.
Is that all?
In the U.S.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Normally, for every one of those, it'd be 5 more.
Let's give him each $2.
Okay, thank you very much, and please fill out the forms.
Thank you. I wanted to remind everybody over there, where are they today? Books, telephones, toiletries, eyeglasses. Don't forget to bring them in. We donate them after every meeting. I think they're on that table over there. The books, of course, you're welcome to look at them and take which ones you want. Any that are left, we give to the library, I guess, downstairs. Yeah.
Go to Cherry Hill and Camden County.
Cherry Hill Library in Camden County. Okay. And food if you want to bring in food for the food bank. Stan, you probably all know by now we had a nice luncheon coping with Christmas. Stan, do you want to stay and organized along with Abe and... No, it was... I'm sorry, Abe organized it. That was close. Abe, do you want to just give us a quick 30-second review of coping with Christmas?
All right, we had 27 people there, which was almost half of what we had last year. And I think it's the issue that really we have to deal with is the quality of the service Christmas Day. I mean, you cannot expect to have the top people working there, or many people working there. So I think next year we are really going to look to a dedicated room or a buffet, so we don't have to deal, because I mean the major complaint this week was that they had one waitress for all of us, and she was doing all the tables too. So she was good, but slow. You know, I mean, you can't. I mean, I remember an Army Corps guy telling me, you want to have three things. You want to do it cheap, well, and fast. Well, you can only have two. You can never have all three. So if you want it cheap and fast, it's going to be bad. So I remember that. You can only get two out of the three. So anyway, next year we're going to try to do some more work on that. The next event will be the dinner after the last day of Passover. So we are working on that. That's going to be in April. So we'll do that. Thanks.
Thanks for your efforts in organizing that for us. Since the last meeting, we also had our Man of the Year with Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs, Mid-Atlantic region. And of course, you know Dick Knopf was our Man of the Year. Dick, do you want to stand up and wave to us and hopefully...
Say a few words.
Please, if whatever you'd like.
Real privilege being nominated and then awarded, and I got a wonderful plaque that I can't figure out where to hang it in the house. But we'll take down my wife's picture for mine.
It won't.
This better not get back to her.
Believe me, it already did.
But I want to thank everyone for voting for me. Had a wonderful time at Temple Beth Shalom. I think I invited my whole family and then 10 other people to come. And 28 people? 28 people, yeah. Really had a great, I think we had a good time. So, the food was outstanding, and I can't say enough about it. It was great it was local, too, because we've been other parts of Pennsylvania. So again, thank everyone, and God bless. Happy New Year.
Well deserved.
I've said this before, we've got, 50, 60 here today. We have 100 and some members. A lot of that is due to Dick's efforts over the years and his membership activities. Dave Schwartz, I'd like you to come up, introduce our speaker, but take a minute if you would first and just take a minute and talk to us about Mitzvah Day. Mitzvah Day, which is the 19th? Is it the January 19th?
What is it, 10 to 12? I don't know. Let me just take 1 minute before. No, my fault. That's all right.
Mike, do you want to come up? We have a check that we voted on that is going to Temple Emanuel, and Mike can tell you a little bit about it.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Very good. We've had a law enforcement appreciation breakfast program since, I believe, 1994, and we have the most years. And usually, lately, there's around 200 law enforcement officials, municipal, county, state, and federal, and once in a while international, that come to our meetings. And we do it in conjunction with the police chief associations of Burlington, Gloucester, Camden, and Salem counties. Thank you. And we don't need to make a profit, but when we do, we give it back to certain organizations. And the two organizations that we have been supporting for years and years and given thousands of dollars from this breakfast are the Goodwin Holocaust Education Center and Museum and the Hero Scholarship Fund of Camden County. Well, we did so well, we gave them every penny we thought we should give, and then there was one more thing. And that is, sometimes you'll see these big tough cops sitting there like this for the entire program until something special happens. The Temple Emanuel preschool, these itsy bitsy little kids come in and we stop everything when they're ready, and they hand out thank you cards for protecting them and things like that. So you'll see these big tough guys all of a sudden and they melt when this little kid comes up and says, "Did you get a card, Jerry?" And it works very nicely. And the person who organizes that is Tracy Pedrick, who's the executive director of the preschool. And Tracy,
Sounds very formal.
It is. And we would like to present to the preschool a check for $118.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There we go.
Oh, we didn't get a
Thank
thank
you.
you card.
So, you will now. It's truly our pleasure, and truth be told, all the preschools in the area donate cards as well, and we just have the pleasure of passing them out. And as Mike said, it is truly one of my highlights of my year. We've been doing it I've been doing it for the past 5 years that I've been at the preschool at Temple Emanuel, and it's such a pleasure for children to see the reality of that. You know, we make a lot of cards, we do a lot of things, but for them to have the opportunity to mix with community heroes on behalf of your organization is a real gift, and to receive is almost uncomfortable because we love to give, but we appreciate this and we will put it to good use to make sure that we continue these efforts with all of you. So thank you very much.
I just wanted to say, other than the card effort through the preschool and so forth, Temple Emanuel for years, and I don't know how many years it's been now, has given us their facility for the event. So not only do they donate the use of the facility, their janitors are there. They're very accommodating. Your janitors have always been great, no matter who it's been. It's just wonderful that we're able to do that over there. And there's not many places that we could really do it in South Jersey. Kitchen. It's a great kitchen. Everything is really wonderful about it, and we appreciate that. If you would take that back to the congregation, we really appreciate that. David?
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
This is a mezuzah that we're going to paint, probably. We bought 75 of these for Mitzvah Day. Mitzvah Day is in January. It is the second year the JFCS is sponsoring this program. They've asked organizations from the community to come and set up a table for 2 hours on a Sunday morning, I think it's January 19th, to come and do a mitzvah, do something. Their ultimate goal is to raise funds or to get products to put in, I believe it's called a cancer, some kind of a little cancer bag that's donated to a hospital that are given to patients at I think it's Cooper. In any event, it's our first year. We came up with the idea of taking mezuzahs, which have come in. They're bare wood. They're in a couple different designs. We are going to provide the mezuzahs and markers and little stickers so that the kids can come and decorate them at our table, and they can take them home and hang them in the doorway of their home. So we're looking forward to doing that. I will be calling around to take probably 4 or 5 or 6 of us to man the table in January. So if you'd like to do it, let me know before I leave today. Otherwise, I'll call around and get a couple of you to come. Today's program, I've been looking forward to for quite some time. I'm aware of this organization for a long, long time. It's called Hazon. And please welcome Dr. Michael Yassner and Marty Feigenbaum.
Hi, I am Michael Yassner.
I'm Marty Feigenbaum.
We'll tell you a very brief bit about ourselves, but most of the time we're going to spend telling you about the organization we volunteer for, Hazon. I'm living in Cherry Hill now. I have a periodontal practice here in Cherry Hill as well.
And I also am a Cherry Hill resident for 29 years now, and have been involved for 36 years with a real estate development partnership known as the Fentel Corporation.
that out of the way, we have some questions for you folks before we begin. Since everyone had a very big breakfast, it's always wise to get moving a little bit so we can keep you awake and interested for the rest of the presentation. So you can either stand or raise a hand as we ask these questions. Who has heard of Hazon? Now, I heard this mentioned earlier. I was excited to hear. Who rides a bike, or who has ridden a bike? Ah, that's a good number. Great. You have a few you wanted to ask?
Yes. Who rides a bike without crashing? Not me. As part of the many things that Hazon does, food is an integral theme. And therefore, I have to ask, how many of you are meat eaters? Okay. Furthermore, how many of you would you say eat meat 5 times a week? Oh. How about twice a week? Wonderful. Okay, that's progress. No, truly. We'll speak in a minute about the effects of animal agriculture on our planet, and you'll understand why. I'm quite pleased, actually, to see so many hands come up with only twice a week. You got to start small and make incremental progress. How many own a either hybrid or electric car? Okay, we got to work on that.
Anybody have solar panels on their house? How about having a place along the beach? I hope it's a few blocks in from the coast, because it will soon be beachfront property with the rising tides, especially along the Jersey Shore. All right. Well, with those questions in mind, we get a sense as to where some of you are coming from. We will go through our presentation, and there's actually an activity at the end. You won't be making mezuzot, but there is something we'll be asking you to do as part of the process. So we're going to tell you a bit about Hazon. We're going to tell you how we got involved in the program, and you'll hopefully walk out if you're learning a bit more about the Jewish response to climate change and protecting the environment. I became involved with this organization when my rabbi at Temple Beth Shalom at the time, Rabbi Joel Levinson, told us of a wonderful bike ride program in Israel. I was getting into cycling as a hobby, and I loved traveling to Israel. And so I went with a group of friends from the community, and we participated in the Israel Ride. Who has heard of the Israel Ride? Yeah, you'll know more about it when you leave today as well. And the Israel Ride was an opportunity to travel and ride through Israel while supporting the Arava Institute, a Jewish environmental institute in Kibbutz Keturah in the Negev desert near Eilat. About the same time, Marty learned of a new project that was going on.
I actually, too, heard about Hazon for the first time through Rabbi Joel Levinson. Riders on the Israel Ride are required to raise funds for the Arava Institute. So Rabbi Joel solicited the congregation. I got the email, and I thought, this is a cool thing. I definitely want to support this. Looked into the organization and also discovered that there was a significant food component to their activist activities, trying to create a more sustainable world force all through food. And food was another passion of mine, as was cycling, although I did not do the Israel Ride. And I applied for a grant to start a CSA locally here at Temple Beth Shalom. CSA, anyone know what that acronym stands for? Community Supported Agriculture. Basically, we support local farming, particularly organic, sustainable farming. My partner in crime for that CSA happened to be Val Yassner. Yes, a relation to Michael. So that's where our involvement began.
And it turns out that we didn't realize the organizations were one and the same. Hazon doing the CSA and supporting the Israel Ride were both the same organizations. So at the CSA, we would provide funding to a local farmer in advance of the growing season and receive, over the course of the growing season, box shares of produce. It's a way to support local farmers, because farming is a very difficult business to be in, especially with not being sure of your cash flow and where your money was coming from. So by providing support to the farmers up front, they knew they had a fixed source of income and could therefore plan their growing season accordingly. Well, with that background in mind, we both then attended one of Hazon's signature events, a food conference, where people, rabbis, clergy, farmers, distributors, chefs, and other interested people would meet and talk about issues relating to food justice, sustainability, and we went together to a meeting in California. That's what got us started on this whole path. And we've since participated in many local and national events, many of which you'll hear about as we go through our presentation. So it's a small enough group. Feel free to interrupt with questions. We'll hang around at the end as well. But we'll continue with the program. If you can, I think, dull the lights now. I have a pretty loud voice, but if you need me to use the mic, I will. So the Israel Ride takes place each fall, and we ride from Jerusalem to Eilat. There are 3 different groups of riders, depending on your level of interest and skill, from somewhat intermediate riders to more advanced riders. There's a group for everybody. If you can help me by clicking on that video there, please. We'll have a little video that shows about the Israel Ride.
See Israel in a fresh light after I've been there 27 times before, and I've been there before.
My first Israel ride, I've done my 12th time in Israel. Amazing to be able to see and feel Israel in a very different way than any of my other trips.
Hi, I'm Marty. This is my first time on Israel Ride.
And this is my Canadian voyage, first ride, having a blast.
Where I'm going was third ride.
This is my 5th ride.
It's a lot of fun, I met a lot of cool people, and it's a very different way of seeing Israel.
A day in the life in the Israel Ride is completely dependent on what sort of rider you are. All of our rides start the day with breakfast, a chance to stretch. We get out early in the morning, we ride and tour whatever your group is offering for that day, and we finish in comfortable, cozy accommodations. During the course of the week and during the course of the ride, the relationships that are created and the community that's grown there is truly remarkable, and it's people from all over the world.
With the crew and the staff and the other participants, everybody really is holding each other up and making it more than just a ride, but also a community.
It's an amazing experience just to be part of and see this huge group of people who are coming from so many different walks of life. We're all here for the same cause, just traveling en masse. And it could look crazy at times, and it could look amazing at times. And at the end of the day, we all get to where we're going, and everyone's just having a really great time.
This will be the most transformational bike ride you will ever be on, and the only way to see Israel.
The ride supports 2 great organizations, the Arava Institute for Environmental Studies on Kibbutz Keturah in Israel, and Hazon, the largest Jewish environmental organization in the United States.
We've helped to create one of the scarcest resources in the Middle East, trust. We don't trust each other. And that's what we try to do with the Arava Institute. Really can't live in peace with nature without learning how to live in peace with your neighbor.
The challenge with the environment is that it's an enormous problem. It's an enormous challenge to many different pieces that need to be worked on. And Hazon was created a world of educational opportunities for people to learn about this in immersive, transformative ways.
The crew with very good receptions are about there at the Arava Institute, and they come back because they're passionate for the work of the Institute, and they know the importance of the ride to funding the work of the Institute, funding scholarships. For the riders who participate, they get to see the crew really as a rolling showcase for a week of a very different perspective.
When you see the unity that they have and the comfort they have with each other and the trust, that shows you the possibility of what this country could be and what this part of the world could be.
Institute is a family for me.
Friendship, I think, is an institute a bit more profound. Like it adds, we have roots, we have something that we share together.
The year I spent in Kibbutz Keturah and Maisim was the best year of my life, I can tell you.
One of the things that makes me most excited about the ride, beyond the work that it does to support the work of the Arava Institute and Hazon, is the transformational experience it is for a rider. We make the trip from Jerusalem to Lot. We ride for 3 days at the beginning, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We spend Shabbat together in Feigenbaum. And it's amazing to me as a leader on the ride to watch the transformation from Tuesday night when the group is first getting together in Jerusalem. We get to the Feigenbaum 3 days later, and as the group sits down for Shabbat dinner, you can see that we've made a transition from individuals to a real community.
This ride just puts it all together. The people are great, the food is great, and the whole atmosphere is terrific.
Anybody around the world, this is an amazing experience, and it's for you.
I can't say enough about the success we need to do this ride.
When we reach Eilat, and there's that incredible moment of joy and celebration when they reach the Red Sea and you realize this is worth every moment that we've been working through the year. And it's an incredible thing to be part of.
The other points I'll make about the Israel ride is that people participate at all different ages. There are kids celebrating their bar and bat mitzvahs that do it, and their grandparents that ride along with them in their 80s and above. So it's really a broad demographic group, age-wise. All of the activities, both for the Israel ride and Hazon, are all pluralistic, meaning there's folks of all different religious backgrounds, all different Jewish backgrounds, and others as well. That's not ours. The other point I want to make about the Israel ride is that the students in the Arava Institute are Israeli, Palestinian, Jordanian, European and American, and sometimes other Arab countries are recommended as well. So when they talk about peaceful arrangements and coexistence, they're building trust among these students. So when they go back to their communities, they have peers and contemporaries who they have relationships with when they're all working in environmental studies. Because nature knows no borders. And so these people on the ground work collaboratively, even while the politicians busy arguing with each other between the countries. So it's really a wonderful program.
So this emphasis on biking is not only a way to see Israel, although it started out that way. I mean, frankly, the organization started out when the founder rode across country with a couple of Jewish buddies and talked about issues that he called Jewish environmentalism, which we'll speak a little bit more about later. But it's also a way to keep yourself healthy, as well as create a healthier world, obviously. Bicycles do not burn fossil fuels, and it's a wonderful exercise. And as Michael alluded to before, bikes are for everyone, regardless of age and regardless of size. From a svelte rider to an overweight or obese person. I have seen them all on bicycles over the last almost 20 years I've been riding a bike.
So I encourage you to get out on your two wheels and look for some opportunities, and maybe we'll see you on the Israel ride together someday. Well, we'll talk more about Hazon now. Hazon means vision, and it is a 50c3 nonprofit organization based with its headquarters in New York, but with satellite offices across the country, doing work nationally. Here in Philadelphia, we have a Philadelphia Advisory Board group, which is a lay-led group of volunteers. Other Hazon offices are in different cities where they have professional staff members as well. It's really quite an efficiently run organization, 4-star charity rating. It's supported by a UJA Federation in its home city of New York City. You may have noticed the
JNF logo for the Arava Institute. These are not fringe organizations we're talking about here. These are mainstream organizations that are supported by well-regarded other groups within the Jewish community. So it really is quite a safe program. I mentioned the pluralism. There's people who are very orthodox and observant, riding bikes with seat. I don't know how they don't get stuck in the wheels. The Hazon activities are all kosher, yet there are many people who are humanistic Jews, or secular Jews, or not Jewish at all, frankly. And it's open to everybody, and it's one of the few places where Jews of all different colors and stripes and shapes can be together and share an experience, and also interact with colleagues and peers as well. They're also great fun. The programs that they come up with are just full of excitement and enthusiasm and very clever, smart ways of learning and doing things together. We're the largest faith-based organization fighting for the environment here in the States, and so we interact very much with other faith-based organizations as well. There is a video for Hazon. They say it much better than I, so I'll ask if we could show the next video by clicking on this link, please. It probably will take another minute to load.
Hazon brought Judaism back into my life for me in a way that feels completely authentic.
I got to be me. I didn't really fit in many places in my life up until then. And then I got to Hazon. I was really great for who I was.
Hazon has exposed me personally to a way of living in community that feels really holy.
When I think of Hazon, I think of evolution.
It's bubbling. Stuff's happening. It's an experiment, but it's real.
When I think of Hazon, I think of what the word Hazon means, which is vision. The vision of Hazon is what is so powerful to me, and it's a vision of a world that I want to live in.
Hazon creates hope in the world by building community. All of the problems we face today are big. They threaten to be overwhelming. But if you're working with other people, if you're working in community, then things don't seem so overwhelming because you have other people standing shoulder to shoulder with you to make change.
Hazon is the Jewish lab for sustainability. Everything that we do pretty much is about turning Jewish life outwards to make a difference in the world and using that process to strengthen Jewish life. How do you do that? Well, it needs a mix of transformative experiences, something that could really radically change a person's life. It needs thought leadership, changing the world through the power of ideas, and it needs capacity building, supporting organizations and networks and not just individuals. We're effecting change in North America and making a change in Israel and strengthening the Israel-diaspora relationship.
Hazon is at the interface between Jewish evolution and Jewish sustainability and world evolution and world sustainability. It's that place where it happens.
Teva is a program for Jewish middle school kids to do environmental education.
When I was in 4th grade, we went on a trip to Teva, and meeting the Teva educators, they seemed so open-hearted and aware of their love for the earth and their love for Judaism.
So we see that the mushroom needs the tree in order to what? In order to live.
Adama is a 3-month experiment in radical community building and living, deep learning, the space to turn yourself inside out and back again.
Adama has very strongly impacted me. It was like all of a sudden having language or something that I had been wanting to express for a very long time in my life.
Teva and Adama alumni are teaching and leading and founding incredible programs. Very, very inspiring. But that's not by itself enough. We have to support these young leaders and these new initiatives with training, networking, mini grants, and we have to help Jewish institutions to walk the walk. We need Jewish outdoor food, farming, and environmental education, Joffy for sure, all over this country.
The Hazon Seal of Sustainability is a program for institutions to advance themselves along sustainability roadmaps. Whether that's a board resolution that we care about climate, or whether that's LED lights in the ceiling, each Jewish institution needs to be thinking that way.
Hazon Detroit is one of the pieces of Hazon that is most exciting to me and most profound. Our task has been, can we help to connect the city and the suburbs, the Jewish community, the African American community? Can we make a difference in the city? Can we strengthen Jewish life in the process?
I love the Hazon bike rides because they test me physically and they give me a fantastic feeling of community and of the possibility of environmental change.
The bike ride for me was this amazing confluence of coming together of all different parts of my Jewish life.
Isabella Friedman is Hazon's home. We use this language, but it really is a lab for what Jewish 21st century sustainable life can look like. It's a retreat center, a farm, a community, a Bet Midrash, a place of education. It's an amazing place.
We live in these kind of segmented, well, this is my Jewish self, this is my eco self, this is my mom self, whatever all these identities that we carry. And it was always such a passion of the Hazon story that we could bring all of those together and that we were stronger when we brought them together.
Community is at the heart of what Hazon is fostering. It's an approach, it's a thoughtfulness, it's a culture. There's a value in Hazon that is about making space for everyone at the table.
Hazon brings Jewish people towards understanding the importance of sustainability, and it brings people who care about sustainability to understand the importance of Judaism.
There is incredible energy in this organization, a willingness and determination to try new things, because this moment needs that of us.
Hazon is the very embodiment of hope. Without vision, there is no hope. Hazon is the R&D lab of the future of Jewish people.
I really found my voice in my time in Hazon.
We're catalyzing a whole field, and it's a field that's growing across the whole country. But it needs to grow much more in the future if we're serious about renewing Jewish life or making a difference in the world. For all that Hazon has done, it's barely scratched the surface relative to what's possible and what's needed.
If I might, it's been a while since I've been in a group that is relatively unfamiliar with Hazon and is seeing, this video and learning about it for the first time. Yes, sorry. If a couple, two or three of you would just very quickly maybe shout out one or two reactions to having seen this video in a word or two or three. A thought? Yes, please, just shout it out.
I've been on the Hazon bike rides here in our area, and it's very immersive, very togetherness, very camaraderie.
It's about building camaraderie. It's about building
Immersive, togetherness, camaraderie, great. Yes?
Do you have a political arm to compensate for Washington?
No, this is apolitical, but you'll see as we go along there are certain things that all faiths seem to have an interest in, and people across the political spectrum share an interest in. So because it's nonprofit, they don't have a political stance, nor are they allowed to. But they have a definite attitude and program of things we support, and we'll be going through that in just a few minutes.
We like to think, like many other, I'm sure, organizations as well, we're not unique, that we have a human arm, if you will, because this is really transcends politics and ideology, etc. Anyone else?
Yes, so that you know, we do have 2 members who have been on the Israel ride.
Great.
And for quite a few years, as individuals and as a group,
Wonderful.
we do support it financially.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Wonderful.
That's great. So we can turn the lights off again because we're on to the next slide. And so one of the main things Hazon focuses on is the Jewish response to climate change. So that's what we're going to focus the rest of our presentation on today, learning about why it's important for us as Jews to care about climate change and what are things we can do at home as an organization and right here this morning to make a difference. So it's clearly understood that our planet is warming due to human activity. And there are a number of main reasons why this is occurring. We have an opportunity to make an impact on many of these things with how we live our life and the choices we make. Marty mentioned the role of industrial animal agriculture. We can have a whole separate presentation on that, fossil fuels and deforestation. But this is based in our culture. This is based in our texts. This isn't just a 2019 approach to trying to get involved in the topic of the day. There's many writings in our past that talk about our responsibility as stewards of the land. This is taken from the Isabella Freeman farm, this photograph.
In Bereshit, the very first parsha of the Torah, of course God creates the world. But after creating the world and giving it to Adam, he, as I'm sure many of you know, makes the statement that you will be responsible for maintaining this land. And it's from that really we all need to come from that place in order to fully appreciate what is happening today and why it's so critical that we take action.
Thank you. So many of our Jewish holidays are agriculturally based. And so many of the ways we practice are based in our agricultural roots. And this text from Leviticus focuses on the rules relating to Shemitah, the resting of the land that's required every 7 years, and then in Jubilee years. So this is not new. This is ancient. This is commentaries from the Bible and from years past. But we have to look ahead, because when it comes time to plant a tree, you're not allowed to say, I don't need that tree for my lifetime, I don't need to plant it. In fact, according to the Talmud, you're required to plant that tree so that the next generation will have trees and will have sustenance and will have fruits and vegetables to live off of. So whether or not you feel it's appropriate for you to make a difference in climate now, if you have family, if you have generations that are following behind you, do it for them so they have a safe, healthy environment in which to work. It's not just doing it for ourselves, it's doing it for future generations as well. So what does Hazon look to do in addressing these responsibilities and obligations we have as Jews to look after the environment in the world? Well, there's individual things we could do, there's things we do as a community, and things we need to do as citizens of the world and our community. We have to educate. So that's part of what we hope to do today. You're learning a little bit more, hopefully, about why this is important and the kinds of things that we can do. You have to advocate, you have to be encouraging people to do things, and you have to get off your butt and do something, make an action, even if it's a small action, to make a difference. There's many people that say it's such a big problem, my efforts are not going to make a difference. It's hard to fill a bucket of things that need to be done, but if each of us put a few drops in that bucket, eventually it gets filled up. So if the old story, of course, we recognize the quote that you can't finish the job, but you're still obligated to do it. Hillel's quote that many of you will be able to know much better than I, but many are familiar with it. Now, we mentioned Isabella Freeman. That's a Jewish retreat center where many programs occur. Hazon has national programs. Again, we've had local bike rides, we've had local food conferences, we've had Lag BaOmer celebrations, Tu B'Shvat Seders, Seder in a Jewish farm for 150 people and catered by Michael Solomonov at the time. So we do a lot of local projects as well. So there's opportunities to get involved locally, nationally, and of course through the Israel Ride internationally. And these are some of the activities that Hazon runs: bike rides, farms, educational programs, food for young people, for older people, for everybody in between. And so we'll be telling you about some of the things you can do to participate in that. But first, I told you some of the historical commentaries, the ancient commentaries on why we as Jews should be involved in protecting the environment. There certainly are some contemporary commentaries that people have come up with that give a good perspective. I think Marty's going to focus on describing some highlights and how this relates to our Jewish heritage and our Jewish responsibilities.
I mentioned the founder of Hazon earlier. His name is Nigel Savage. He wrote a beautiful article this past October, just around around Yontif time, around the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur holidays. He called it environmental teshuvah. Obviously, on Yom Kippur, we are pleading for forgiveness for our sins. So I thought this was, quite appropriate for the topic of the day. And Nigel writes, first, we need to reflect on our behavior. Secondly, we must commit to change our ways. And in reflecting, in committing to change our ways, we also need to make amends for the damage that we have done. It would be perfectly appropriate, and I'm sure certain synagogues and denominations of our religion have included in the Al-Chet prayer a asking of forgiveness for the damage we have been doing to our planet, knowingly or unknowingly, frankly. We have to make up for the damage that we've done. We must say loud and clear to our elected officials, we need governments to pass policies that will help save us from ourselves. As all of us somewhat painfully are aware, in my case extremely painfully, like losing sleep at night, some governments around the world are not exactly, or some are turning kind of a blind eye and ear to certain facts that are really indisputable. And that really needs to change. As we strive to commit to environmental teshuvah, there are opportunities as well as challenges. And he cites Israel and the growth of Israeli clean technology as being just a microcosm of what needs to be done. But I found it really interesting that, frankly, the facts are that Israelis have fewer cars, they live in smaller homes, they use less water, and they eat more local foods than most people in the industrialized West. And in the context of that, they still have grown to be one of the most envied societies in the world. There's some good news, by the way. What could that be, you ask? Did anyone ask that? What could that be?
Next election?
Well, we hope. We hope. But as Michael said, we're not about politics. We're about just kind of doing the right thing, whoever it might be. Some are more likely to do that than others, obviously. The good news is, and you saw some of it in the video, the good news are those young folks, those young faces, whether they have long hair or short hair, whether they're male or female, whether they're heterosexual or homosexual. But we have seen through Hazon, and I think Michael would agree, that one of our probably happiest, most satisfying times is getting together with some of the Adamanics, this Adamah fellowship that Hazon sponsors, younger children, younger adults, to learn farming and immerse themselves in behavior that will contribute to a better world. And it's not something to just dismiss. These are real efforts that are being done. And I think that'd be a nice segue to how many people have heard of Greta Thunberg? Thunberg, I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. Okay, thank you. Well, Greta, it takes out of the mouths of babes, they say, right? And I'm at an age where I remember the Art Linkletter show and how these kids would say the most amazing things. It looks like some of you may also be at that age. Not many, but some. So Greta, as you know, addressed the UN in such an intelligent, mature way. And I just want to read a few of the things that she has said. And we pray that it doesn't fall on deaf ears. Greta says, and we've inserted the word Hoshana. Hoshana in Hebrew is either God help us, God save us. So I'm going to use that. People are suffering, Hoshana. Entire ecosystems are collapsing, Hoshana. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, Hoshana. You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency, but the young people are starting to understand your betrayal, Hoshana. The eyes of all future generations are upon you, Hoshana. Folks, this is really something that, despite the little bit of good news I mentioned, unfortunately is fraught with really bad news. And I have to give you some of that bad news, okay? Because there's something I'm going to tell you in a moment that's called knowledge without belief. We know many things to be true, but we really don't believe them, despite the fact that we know them to be true. The Paris Climate Accord, which has gotten a lot of press because the present administration has decided to pull away from that agreement, talks about keeping global warming to 2 degrees Celsius. And frankly, that probably won't be achieved, even though that is the bare minimum that is necessary. If we defy the heavily stacked odds and limit global warming to 2 degrees, if we can achieve that, which most experts agree that we probably can't even achieve that, sea levels will rise by 1.6 feet. Armed conflict will increase by an estimated 40% because of climate change. Greenland will tip into irreversible melt. Between 20 and 40% of the Amazon will be destroyed. The European heat wave of 2003, if any of you remember that, not that long ago, that actually cost more than 70,000 lives and 13 billion euros in crop losses, and brought the rivers Po, Rhine, and Loire to historic lows. That will become the annual norm. Human mortality will dramatically increase. 400 million people will suffer from water scarcity. Warmer oceans will irreparably damage 99% of coral reefs. Half of all animal species will face extinction. Wheat yields will be reduced by 12%, rice by 6%, maize by almost 18%, and soybeans by 6%. Global GDP per capita will drop by an estimated 13%. Yeah, that's right. Scientists, the brightest and best minds in the world, all reach the same conclusions. That's a fact. That is a fact. Okay, so how do some people deal with facts? They still don't believe them. And I'm going to relay a story about Jan Karski. Jan Karski, anyone know that name?
Yeah.
Jan Karski?
Sure, he spoke at TBS 20 years ago.
That's correct. That's right, Barney. He spoke at TBS. Polish, Catholic, underground resistance fighter. Obviously, we're talking World War II, who was dispatched on a very dangerous journey to the United States to appeal to our government, not to appeal, to inform our government as to the atrocities that were occurring in Eastern Europe during World War II. He met with Felix Frankfurter. Everyone know Felix Frankfurter, Supreme Court Justice, brilliant mind. Karski relayed the events that were occurring in Eastern Europe to Justice Frankfurter. After hearing Karski's accounts of the clearing of the Warsaw Ghetto and of exterminations in the concentration camps, after asking him a series of increasingly specific questions, For instance, what was the height of the wall that separates the ghetto from the rest of the city? Frankfurter paced the room in silence, then took his seat and said, Mr. Karski, a man like me talking to a man like you must be totally frank. So I must say I am unable to believe what you told me. When Karski's colleague pleaded with Frankfurter to accept Karski's account, Frankfurter responded, I didn't say that this young man is lying. I said I am unable to believe him. My mind, my heart, they are made in such a way that I cannot accept it. Well, folks, what's happening in the world today with regard to the environment is real. We have to accept it. We have to believe it. And clearly, from that, we have to take certain actions. Hazon is doing a small part. We hope that this will stimulate questions and even better, certain actions one will take today. And we hope that you may have learned something today. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to meet some of you and to speak to you today.
So let's talk about things you could do. Yeah, is there a question?
Yeah, I have a statement that I read an article this week that stated that the Amazon produces 20% of the oxygen of this planet. And that is it's currently at a very tipping point. That if in fact it goes over to the end, it's going to release massive amounts of carbon dioxide. As we all know, photosynthesis is what plants do. They take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. When there's no oxygen to be released, then we can't breathe. Conversely, if the Amazon depletes itself and releases all this carbon dioxide, guess what? We have no oxygen. So it comes down to we need the forests for our own survival. The hell with climate warming or any of that stuff. If you can't breathe, it doesn't matter. And the fact that the Brazilians don't give a damn leaves it to us to have to give a damn. Because if we want to be here 150 years from now, not us, but our ancestors, we damn well better do something now.
Yeah.
Because if it goes, we're dead. Okay, simply put, and we don't have enough rockets to move to another planet. We don't even know another planet to go. And it concerns me that we have leadership in this country, in China, in India, and many other countries who just don't care. Well, you know, we talk about overpopulation. Well, we're finding a hell of a way to decrease the population on this planet.
Can you answer that question?
Well, it was a statement, and I appreciate the statement. There are things we can do, though. So let's talk about some of the things we can be doing to make an impact. Lights again, please.
Lights.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yes, the front one.
Maybe I'll stand here.
So making a personal commitment, eating what matters, eating sustainably. That means eating less red meat, eating less meat in general, eating less processed dairy products, eating more local, vegetarian, and organic foods. Makes a difference in the impact on our environment. Get involved with Hazon, using the Hazon Seal of Sustainability. This organization, or any organizations you're involved with, can apply to Hazon and have a worksheet and a mentor and a program to make your organization and your facilities more sustainable. Whether it's greening your breakfasts to make sure that the food selection you're making is better. Make sure that maybe you don't need paper goods. Maybe there's other ways you can do what you're already doing in a way that's better for the environment. And the Hazon Seal is a well-established program to do that. In our other activities at Temple Emanuel, we volunteered to be on the green team there, and with TBS then earned the Seal of Sustainability. We made the changes to the Green Our Kiddush to do the educational programs for the environment for the school and many other groups within the organization. So there's ways that as an organization and as a group, you can take advantage of Hazon's leadership and education and training to make this happen. And certainly supporting Hazon financially is valuable. At the end of the year, if you'd like to go online to make a personal donation, that's fine. And in terms of the groups, request for suggestions for groups to sponsor, we'd like to respectfully ask you to consider Hazon as well. They are based locally, nationally, and with the work in Israel internationally. They are a very efficient organization as judged by the 4-star Charity Navigator ranking, and they get the job done. They really make a meaningful impact on people's lives. There's more things you can do, though. Isabella Freeman is a beautiful retreat center. It's like a summer camp for parents and adults, and families as well. And there's many activities that you might be interested in hosting there. Perhaps a retreat for the group with the men or the men and families to have an educational program at Isabella Freeman would be a wonderful excursion. It's affordable. It's a reasonable distance away. They have a men's retreat weekend already you can probably piggyback on.
Where is it?
It's in northwestern Connecticut, just below the Berkshires. Great Barrington is the one in the Berkshires, in Connecticut, just south of that. It's in a beautiful setting, rustic but clean, but not bunks, but cabins, great local food, and lots of programming that would be very exciting. Again, attending to all different types of religious and cultural backgrounds. And so go to the Hazon.org website, and there's a whole list of actual programs that are already scheduled, plus the potential to take your own group up there for a retreat. There's many young people involved in the program with the Adamah Farm Program and the Jaffe Jewish Outdoor Food Environmental Educational Training programs that are available. So if you have people in your family or in your community that have an interest in this, here's a place where they can learn and they can excel and they can become the leaders of the next generation. Participate and support people in the Israel Ride, and join in the Jewish response to climate change, which is what we're going to do right now. Now I ask you if you could turn the lights on, because one of the groups that Hazon partners with is the Jewish Earth Alliance to lobby our legislators in Washington on these very issues. Now, they join with other faith-based organizations to do this as well, and they have volunteers in Washington that gather letters that are written by people from around the country and hand-deliver them to our representatives. So they walk into the office, and they do this every week because there are people around the country doing these kinds of programs. And they provide tangible evidence to the legislators that this is something that constituents are interested in. And it's important for the legislators that don't support environmental policies to know that people in their communities care about this. But it's also important for those that do support it, because many of our legislators in Washington from New Jersey are already on record as supporting it. But how much support are they providing? How far are they willing to go to push these issues? If they know they have your back, we have their back and we support them in doing this, they're going to be much more forceful in pushing for these issues as well. So to help you do that, we need your help. So I'll ask to turn the lights on, please, and we're going to distribute 3x5 blank cards, and to make your life easier, in writing a letter to your legislator, we have some sample stickers already made out. We'll put them on the tables. They cover a number of different current environmental issues that are before the federal House and Senate now, that are being voted on currently, when they're not voting on impeachment. And so if you could read over these short little blurbs, add a sentence or two of your own. I support the Jewish response to climate change, or fighting, climate change is important to me. Please support it, or whatever you'd like to write of your own. Your name and contact information is important because these legislators want to know you're a real person and we're not just stuffing the boxes with fake names. We'll collect them at the end and hand deliver them to your legislators. So if we can have some help, maybe somebody from each table, we can hand out some of the stickers. I think maybe over there. Yeah, we can cut the front.
One for each table. This is the last specific.
Okay.
I'm sorry if we took good.
What happened with the cards?
With the what?
Oh, look in that bag. We have plenty because there's different ones to select from, and you may find one topic speaks to you more than another topic.
You want to hand these out?
Yeah, we'll hand out the cards as well, and pens too.
Any more of these?
You can do a few, you can do more than one or more. We have some brochures that anybody would like to read up on the organization here as well.
For the charitable suggestion slips that were on the table, could you pass them over to Bob Greenberg if there's some at your table? And gentlemen, I want to thank you for informing us of the wonderful things that Hazon is doing, and hopefully we have some members who are interested and will be able to participate with them in some fashion. We have a certificate of appreciation for our guest speaker, Dr. Yassner.
I'll share it with Marty.
Rich says he'll send you your certificate, Rich Moskowitz. He didn't know you were coming.
I'll send you one. I have to rely on him?
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I think it's safe. I think it's a safe bet.
You want to hold that up?
Oh, there we go.
Face the camera. Thank you.
Last time I was the numbers in front of me.
Someone asked what they do with the cards.
Just leave them on the table, we'll collect them.
The cards for the Hazon people, please leave them on the table and we'll collect them. Could you help us out with our drawing of our 50-50? So the winning amount today on the 50-50 is $58, and the winning number is going to be last three numbers on the. He's really mixing them up good, you got a really good chance.
Hard for me to slip in the winning ticket.
Booming voice.
Booming voice, winning ticket.
Last three numbers.
Last three numbers.
7, 5. Who's still in it?
7, 5.
One last number. Who's
One
still in it?
last number.
7, 5.
7, 5.
Last
No,
number
not
is
me.
5. 7, 5, 5.
Not Greenberg again. Oh no.